Hello folks and welcome back. Today's video is the first in the series coming to the channel, and I'm doing the thing that all board game content creators do. I am doing a list video, and we're going to start off with 5 great 2-player only games. Now this list isn't the list, and it's not going to be the top 5. I'm not going to rank these games. They're not the best 2-player games only. They're just 5 2-player only games I think are really interesting, and if you like playing 2-player only games, these might be something you enjoy. So without further ado, let's get on to the first one. The first game on today's list is an absolute classic. It is Jaipur. Now Jaipur is a small box card game where you are trading goods back and forth between your hand and the market and trying to sell them off and get the most points. Game's played over best of 3 really, so you can have a short 2 game or a full-on 3-round game. In the game you have 6 different goods. You have leather, cloth, spice, silver, gold and diamond, and you also have camel cards. You have a market of cards of 5 cards between the 2 players, and on your turn you can either take 1 goods from the market and put it in your hand, and then revealing a new card off the top of the deck. You can trade in cards from your hand that match the amount of cards you're taking from the market, or you can trade camels in instead. I'll explain those in a bit. And the final thing you can do, instead of taking stuff from the market, you can cash in cards from your hand and get points tokens from. Now the points tokens are really interesting because there's 2 factors to them. The goods tokens you get stacks of, they're face down, and you have the higher points at the top of the stack. So the more tokens get lost from a pile, the less points that good will be worth on future turns. But you also have these bonus tokens that if you can hand in 3, 4 or 5 of the same good on a turn, you can take a bonus one. And the 5, for example, the points on that range from between 8 and 10, which is big points in this game. But what's really clever about it is you have the decision space then of do I want to cash in 1 or 2 goods early on and get the big points off the top of the goods decks, off the goods stacks, or do I want to hold on and get a big hand of like 5 gold and take 5 gold tokens and the 5 bonus token, big points. The precious resources, the silver, gold and diamond, also have this cool thing where you have to have a minimum of 2, so you're always chasing. So sometimes it's really frustrating when you take maybe a leather or a cloth from the middle, just 1 card, and then you flip over the next one from the top of the deck and it's a diamond and your opponent can just take that. But there's a little wrinkle in this because you have a hand limit of 7 cards. So you can't just keep hoarding, and it's really frustrating when you've just hit your max, and then that ruby comes out. Sorry, not ruby, diamond. I always call them ruby because they're red. Anyway, like a precious resource comes out, and you can't take it. You've also got, as I mentioned, the camel cards. These aren't a resource, obviously, but you can use those for trading for the market goods instead of goods from your hand. So if you don't want to lose one of those precious resources, and you really see something you like, but there's like 2 of them, or say 3 silver, and you've got 2 in your hand already. Instead of giving up anything to get those ones, you can just trade that amount of camels to the market instead, which then also lessens the choice for your opponent for what materials they can take from the deck. You do get an extra 5 points at the end of the round if you've got the most camels, so sometimes it's good to hold them back, but it is only 5 points. I rarely ever go for it. But the camels do give you an absolute, because they don't count towards your hand limit, they give you a lot more freedom in what you can take from the market. So sometimes it's good. If someone plants down a load of camels, just take them all. I mean, it's gonna freshen up the market. There might be things you might lose out on, but having 4, 5 or 6 camels can be really cool. But yeah, it was a game that me and my wife played a lot when we first started dating. It was our sort of opener game when I used to go around there. It was the first game we played regularly. It was like always our opener game. But it's an absolute classic. It's been around for 17 years now, and it still does the job. And what I really like about it as well is it's not one and done, like one quick game. It's a best of 3. So yeah, you lose that first round, but you can still come back and win rounds 2 and then 3. So yeah, if you've not tried Jaipur yet, it's been around a long time. I highly recommend it for 2-player only game fans. The next game on the list is the newest of the 5 games I'm talking about today, and it is Tag Team, which came out last year. It's basically the old arcade fighting games like Street Fighter and things like that, distilled into a card game. You will pick 2 fighters from a set of 12, and your opponent will pick 2 fighters, and each fighter comes with a board and a deck of cards. Now, Each deck of cards has its own starter card, and you'll both start with those 2 cards, one from each fighter, in a deck. You can choose the order you put it in, face down. Now, on that first turn, you are just going to flip a card, do what it says, whether it's attack, defense, heal. Probably not going to do that on your first turn, and things like that, special powers, that kind of thing. And then you flip the second card, and that's the end of the first fighting round. But the rest of those decks of cards have all been shuffled together. You'll draw 3 cards from there, and you will pick 1 to keep, and you'll put the other 2 at the bottom of the deck, never to be seen again. Except it probably will be, because there's some duplicates of cards. It's fine. You're not going to lose it. Anyway, you'll add that card to your fighting deck. But here's the kicker. You cannot change the order of these existing cards, okay? So, if card A was flipped and then card B, A and B will be in that order for the rest of the game. But where you put card C in is up to you, top, middle, or bottom. And then once you've done and you've chosen that position, you'll reset the deck, and then you'll fight again. 1, 2, 3 cards. At the end of that round, draw 3 more cards, pick 1 to add, and once again, those 3 cards stay in that order, but your new card can go anywhere you like. Now, this is fantastic because you will start to try and place cards where, say you're getting hammered by an opponent always attacking you on the first turn. If you draw a shield card, that's where you want to put it, as your first card, and then start blocking it. But once your opponent sees that card out and you've made the conscious decision to block that attack that was really, really kicking your butt, now they're going to put something else in front of that, maybe to change the order of where that comes out. They put something on the top of their deck, so now that hit card is their second card, but you're blocking their first card. It gets so tactical, not like crazy, not like big Euro game crazy tactical, but it gets very thinky about where you're putting those cards. You don't want your opponent to see where you're putting that card into your deck, and you will build it out. So each round will get longer and longer as the card is added after each sort of round of fighting. But the characters also come with really cool special abilities as well. For example, you've got Bodva here, and he has this track here. And when certain cards of his push him up to the top of this track, and he hits that top one, he becomes a raging bear. How awesome is that? So if you're going up against him, you get very nervous every time this track gets higher because you know that is coming. You've got Shango. He has these fire tokens he can put out, and you can get rid of them, but if all 5 fire tokens are on one of your characters, you just auto lose. Doesn't matter if you're at full health. You've got Qingxi. She has like a little boat track at the bottom, and that can be moved up by certain cards, and then other cards, depending on what number it's on, give her like extra cool abilities and make her more powerful. You've got the Fey folk. They're interesting. They have 3 different characters, but you're only fighting with 1 at a time. So when one dies, you then choose which one to go to. But they've got this little ghost track on the side that can do really cool things. But they can't. They only lose when all 3 are dead, and then you get to the end of the deck on the next turn. There's this card with a ghost symbol on it, and if that's come out, they just auto lose. One of my new favourites, the Wild Bunch. These are a whole bunch of guys, but they have a very small health track you can see there. Everyone else takes like 4 hits, they'll fall down on their track. The Wild Bunch can only ever move down 1, so it's really fun when your opponent has powered up something, like a mighty attack can hit you for 7 or 10, and you do 1 damage. The downside to this is healing works the same way, so it doesn't matter how much your healing can be done for, it only moves up 1. They also have this really cool sheriff token mechanic where if the sheriff token is with you, when you draw the card that has it on there, it gives you like an extra ability or like a boost. But once you've done that, you then have to slide the token across to your opponent. So when that card comes back around again, it will benefit them. The sheriff's really fickle. He's like, oh, I'm going to help you, but I'm going to help the outlaws the next game, next turn. It is really, really fun. I really enjoy playing those. And then you've got fan favourite, the Golem. He's just a tank, but he's also a really helpful tank because he will put a little plaster token on his teammate to protect. And that can kind of just take a hit. The other thing that's really interesting about this as well is you want to be aware of which of your 2 character cards you're putting into the deck, because when you flip your card, that's the character that's going to get hit. So if you just went all Golem cards and only 1 of whatever your teammate was, your Golem's going to take a lot of hits. And you're sticking this plaster on your teammate, but he's never taken that plaster off because he's never getting hit. So yeah, it's a real that quick decision between rounds of what card, which of the 3 cards you're going to pick, and where you're going to put in your deck is just super thinky, and I love it. Yeah, Tag Team is a firm favourite with a lot of board games at the moment, myself included. As I said, really, really love it. It's really fun, good opener, good palate cleanser, good game for conventions, quick and easy to teach, and you can just have multiple turns back to back. And also 12 fighters. It's a lot of variability in play you can mix up. I'll let you guys decide. My math isn't brilliant. I want to say there's 60 combinations. I'm not quite that good at working that one out, but let me know if I'm right in the comments. But yeah, 60 combinations of fighters. There's so much variability in that. And there's an expansion coming. I believe this year there's an Arthurian expansion which can add some more characters. I think I remember correctly, one of them is Excalibur. You get to play as a sword, I'm pretty sure. I'm looking forward to getting that. More fighters can only make the game more exciting. Yeah, if you haven't tried it yet, definitely give Tag Team a go. Now, we can't do a two-player only games list without mentioning at least one of the many dual games. The games that are original games at higher player counts and they make a two-player only version. Sometimes it's very similar, Splendor Duel. Sometimes it's completely different, the White Castle Duel. We also have things like King of Tokyo Duel, Azul Duel. There's just a whole bunch of these games. And they're very divisive. Some people think that they're not needed, some think that they do better jobs than the originals. My favourite of all the two-player implementations of existing games is Tokaido Duo. Tokaido is one of my favourite games of all time. It was the game that got me into the hobby many years ago, and I was lucky enough to try the demo of the Duo version before it came out, and then I had to wait months for it to actually arrive from retail. So in the game, it's quite different. You don't have like a long track that you're travelling down with all these different spots you're trying to gain. The game is about three things, and you have an artist, a pilgrim, I need to check, and a merchant, and they each have their own mechanics that they're doing. Now, on your turn, you're going to roll 3 dice, one that represents each of these 3 characters, and it's a snake draft basically, so you're going to choose one, your opponent gets to choose one, and you get the remaining one. And it all offers movements for these characters. Now, one goes around an outer track, one goes on these spaces in amongst everything, and then one goes between the villages in between those spaces. It kind of like they all surround each other. It's weird. So they each have their own ways of scoring. So the artist is trying to reveal paintings and then get rid of the paintings by gifting them to people, which they do by moving to the different spaces in the center of the board that match those paintings. You have the merchant who is traveling to places to pick up goods and then going to the other villages to sell them for money, and they're all about filling up their money track. And then you've got the pilgrim who is walking around the outside, and they have like a multiplier track, so it's green and blue, and you want to be moving up both those tracks kind of equally, because if you move up one to the 9th space but you don't move on the other one, then it's 9 times 1, 9 points. But if you can get like 1 to 4 and 1 to 5, it's 20 points. And it's I think it's whoever triggers one of those 3 things maxing out is the end of the game. I just think it's beautiful. I love the Tokaido aesthetic, all the white and the sort of pastel the drawings and everything on the boards and the cards and that. But yeah, it's this. I love the balance of this game because you can't afford to just focus on one of your 3 characters because you just won't score for the others and you'll have a very low score. So you're trying to balance out all of them, but also be aware of where your opponent is getting higher on, because the closer it gets to the end of the game, are you matching on everything? We've had it where one of us has gone a bit more into one of them, so they've got like a high score and 2 low scores, whereas the other person's got 3 middling scores, and it can still be a close battle. Yeah, I just really love Tokaido Duo because Tokaido. I think it justifies its place because Tokaido doesn't really work at 2, is all right at 3, starts getting good at 4, works really well at 5, and 6 is crazy. So I fell in love with the game, but I never really play it that much. And in fact, most of the time I play it is when I'm at Games Cafe, so I'm not playing my own copy of it. It's very rare that we have more than 4 people around our table. So it was a nice way to play a Tokaido game, just me and my wife. And I love that dice decision, because you also, when you're drafting the dice, you're thinking about like, I really want that one, but then that leaves these 2 for you to choose from, and I know you need the artist right now. So do I take the artist just to slow you down? It still benefits me in some way. It's real thinking on the dice you're going to take, and the order you take them in. But yeah, it's a relaxing game, like the original Tokaido. I find it quite chill. It's just, yeah, I really like it. So if you had a chance to try that, if you're a big fan of Tokaido but you don't get to play it enough because you need the high player count, the two-player version is a nice sidestep, and it just works really, really well. Now, it's clear that I love two-player only games, but did you know I also like polyomino games? So you're thinking patchwork, right? No. I want to talk about Paris, Le Cité de Lumière. Now, this is a game that doesn't get mentioned at all. I don't see it on social. I rarely see it in lists. Years ago, I had a Shut Up and Sit Down video review, so you'd think that everyone would own it, because that's how that works. But no, since 2019, I just don't see it that often. I really like it. So the game is played over two phases. You are drafting building tiles, the polyomino part of the game, and you are placing your pavement tiles, shall we say, into a 4x4 grid. These 2x2 tiles are going into a 4x4 grid. The tiles themselves have orange and blue, which are the player colours, purple, which is both colours, and then just grey cobblestone. Now, you are taking turns to place or draft. You don't get to do both. So if there are certain polyomino shaped buildings that you want early on, you can take it on your turn, but now you haven't placed one of your pavement tiles down, and your opponent might get to place where you wanted to go. So there's this real tough decision in the opening phase of the game, but it's all about the planning. You're putting these tiles down, 8 each, and you're trying to get your colours or the purple to make the polyomino shapes of the buildings you're taking, because that's how you're going to place the buildings in phase 2. You know, if you get a T-shaped polyomino tile, it's going to have to fit on a T-shaped pavement squares that match your colour or purple or both. And so sometimes when you're planning that and you're putting the pavement down, you can see the buildings your opponent's got, and you can place your pavement tile to get in the way or to challenge and say you want to put something there first. But yeah, that's phase 1. And once all the tiles are down and you've taken the building tiles you want to take, because you don't have to take, there's more than will be taken by the players. Then you move on to phase 2. And now you're going to be placing those buildings down, again, one at a time. But there's also these postcards around that are placed around the outside of the board. They give special abilities. They add extra tokens. They can allow you to swap building tiles. So if you did get screwed over and there's a building you were going to place, but your opponent has blocked how you can place it now, you might be able to just chuck that back in and get a better fitting one back out. And these postcards are first come, first serve. So if your opponent takes a power that you're really looking to use, tough, it's gone now. So yeah, I love the fact that both phases have this 50-50 decision space. Phase 1 is place a tile or take a building. You can't do both on a turn. And phase 2 is placing a building and or doing the postcard action. And then the way that the scoring mostly works for the bulk of the scoring is it's all to do with lights. So there's these little lampposts on the pavement tiles you've been putting down. You can actually get an extra one as a token. And when you score at the end, it's you score the buildings that touch the lamp. It's how many lamps touch a building you've got on the board. So placement is everything. It's a gorgeous game. The board itself, it stays inside the bottom of the box, so you're using that during the game. The polyomino tiles are dual layered. They don't need to be, but they are. The pieces, the little chimney pieces that you put on to mark your building, it's just everything about this. The sort of like vintage French posters on the back of the postcards, the art style itself of the tiles, everything about this game is gorgeous. And it doesn't take too long to play. It can be very quick, 15-20 minutes. But there's there's two-player dueling of area control and polyomino. It's an absolutely underrated and fantastic game. If you get the chance to try it, please do yourself a favour and have a go, because it is something special and it deserves to be talked about more, I think. And now for the last game on today's 5 great two-player only games. This one it's a game I played. I think I would say I played it earlier than I really got into the hobby. I used to play with a friend of mine, and then the game then became something very personal to my wife and I, due to how the game has been utilised in our growing relationship. I'll explain more in a second. But that game is Hive. This is just insect chess. There's nothing more you can really use to describe it. That's all it is. You have no board. You have these hex tiles with different insects on them. Each insect, like in chess, has a different ability, and you are trying to surround your opponent's queen bee. But once your tiles have been placed and they're touching other hex tiles, these lovely acrylic hex tiles, the hive cannot be broken, so you can never have like two separate sections of these tiles joined together. So you can find yourself in a position suddenly where you are unable to move one of your pieces, because if you do, it will break the hive, and that is not allowed. So there's very clever manipulation of these hex tiles as you're trying to trap. You're trying to hinder your opponent from being able to do what they want to do against you. You're trying to keep your bee out of trouble, and all the while you can't break the hive. It's super clever. I had a game of this with a work colleague once, and I've never known such a defensive player. It was a 40-minute game, and I spent about 25 minutes of that constantly being 2 turns away from winning, and he just kept backing out of corners and making it very difficult for me to surround that bee. It was one of my favourite games ever. I've played back-to-back games of this over and over for like 2-3 hours, and like I said, it really came into its own when non-game related things happened with this game in our relationship. So it was the first game I ever played with my wife in real life, because it was such a favourite of mine. I wanted to sort of show her this really cool game that I liked. I used the game to propose to my wife. I actually asked her to set the game up while I was busy doing something, and I put the ring box inside, so when she tipped everything out, the ring box came out. And yeah, it's just become a favourite of us. I even managed to take my copy to the expo last year and get it signed by the designer, which I'm super chuffed about. And he must have thought I was crazy as I was telling him how important this game is to me, because I used it to propose to my wife. But he smiled and let me talk, and I will also always appreciate that of him. But yeah, Hive is just a fantastic game. It's a lot more tactical than you think, with the different abilities like the grasshopper token that can jump straight over in lines, the ant that can pretty much go anywhere, the spider that always has to move 3 adjoining faces of a hexagon. So that one, you always see a player like, you know the spider's coming because you see them kind of like 1, 2, 3, so they know where to place it. There's also this the mechanic with placement mechanic where you can't just place a new piece in anywhere you like. It has to start off touching your pieces. So it's really frustrating because you're using up an action to put a new piece on, and then you can't do anything with it, and your opponent can then maybe move something to trap it there. Once again, keep it in a hive. So yeah, that's always fun. And then there's some, I think you would class them as expansions, I guess. There's a ladybug, pillbug, and the only one I've ever used is the mosquito. Their ability is really cool because they get to use the ability of the piece that they start their turn on. So they can be very, very tactical in like being an ant one turn and then being a grasshopper the next, that extra piece. I've not played with the other two. I don't think it needs them. I think the core insects that come with the game are just absolutely fine. But yeah, it's just chess. And you don't need a board, so you can play this game anywhere. And it doesn't have a huge footprint unless you just go crazy and make a long line. But yeah, it's been around. I think the original version came out in 2001. And I play with the pocket version. The acrylic tiles are a lot smaller. It's a lot easier to take around. And that was 2010. Hive's been around for a while, and it remains I think one of the best 2-player only games. It's probably one of the best sort of 2-player gateway games as well. Yeah, I would say if you've not played Hive, you should give it a go. If you've not played Hive, where the hell have you been? It's been around for years. But yeah, the game's just been with me my entire gaming journey, and I will always be up for playing a game. Yeah, that's Hive. And there we are, folks. Once again, we have reached the end of another video. They were my 5 great 2-player only games. Now, as I said at the beginning, they aren't the greatest games of all time. They're not the best-selling 2-player only games. They're just 5 games that I've really enjoyed over the years. And if you like 2-player only games, I think you will too. If you haven't played any of them yet, definitely check them out. They are definitely worth your time. Yeah, so like I say, that's the end. As always, thank you very much for taking your time to watch me talk about games. I 100% appreciate it. Every view, every like. Thank you to my new subscribers. We're slowly climbing up there. We're doing good, guys. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.